everyone. I stand before you today with great excitement and anticipation because I truly believe that a shift is coming that will change everything for you. When you see this, God is about to change your life. Now, I'm not talking about a change that's distant or far off. No, I'm talking about a transformation that begins the moment you open your heart and recognize that something greater is on the horizon. When you begin to notice certain shifts in your life, it's important to recognize them as signs that something profound is happening. These signs may appear subtle at first, but when you look closely, you will see that they are divinely orchestrated moments. They could manifest as unexpected opportunities, a renewed sense of purpose, or a deep sense of peace, even amidst chaos. These are the moments when God is moving behind the scenes, preparing you for something bigger. It's essential to be alert to these changes and open to the possibility that they are not mere coincidences, but part of God's plan for your life. For instance, sometimes when we face difficult circumstances, we may feel discouraged or overwhelmed. But in those moments, a door might open unexpectedly, maybe a new job offer, a chance encounter that leads to a new relationship, or an opportunity to pursue something you've always wanted to do but never had the chance. These unexpected openings are often God's way of signaling that change is coming. They may not always seem like monumental shifts at first, but they're pieces of a larger puzzle that God is putting together in your life. Along with these opportunities, there may also be a noticeable sense of peace or assurance that comes over you, even when everything around you seems uncertain. This peace is a signal that God's presence is with you, even in the midst of challenges. It may feel like a gentle nudge in your spirit, a quiet knowing that things are about to get better, even when you can't see how or when that change will come. This inner peace is often the precursor to a breakthrough, the calm before the storm of transformation. Another sign that God is about to change your life can come in the form of new desires or passions awakening within you. You may find yourself suddenly interested in something that once seemed out of reach or irrelevant to your life. Perhaps you feel drawn to a specific career path, a cause that stirs your heart, or a new way of serving others. These stirrings of the heart are often God's invitation to align your life with His purpose for you. When you begin to notice these desires coming alive within you, it's a sign that He is guiding you toward a new season of growth and fulfillment. It's also important to understand that not all signs of change are outwardly visible at first. Sometimes the shift happens internally. You might begin to experience a shift in your mindset, moving from fear to faith, from doubt to confidence, or from hopelessness to hope. This transformation within you is just as significant as any external change. As your heart and mind begin to shift toward trust in God's plan, you'll find yourself more open to the changes that are on the horizon. In moments like these, it's crucial to pause and reflect on the things you're experiencing. Often we're so caught up in the day-to-day rush of life that we miss these divine nudges. But when you take the time to recognize these signs, it becomes easier to trust that God is working on your behalf. The shift may not always come in the way you expect, but if you stay in tune with God's leading, you'll begin to see that He is moving to bring about a transformation in your life. These signs are His way of telling you that your season is changing and something greater is on the way. Understanding and recognizing these moments of shift helps you prepare your heart for the changes that are about to come. It builds your faith in the fact that God is always at work, even when things seem still or uncertain. The more you attune yourself to these signs, the more you'll see God's hand moving in your life. And as you begin to embrace these moments with anticipation and faith, you'll find that the change God is bringing is not just a fleeting event. It is a lasting transformation that will impact every area of your life. God's timing is one of the most important aspects to understand when we're waiting for change in our lives. It's easy to grow impatient when we feel like we're stuck, or when it seems like things are taking too long to come to fruition. We might wonder why God hasn't answered our prayers yet, or why things haven't turned out the way we hoped. But in these moments, we must remember that God's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own expectations. There will be seasons in our lives where we feel like we've been waiting forever for a breakthrough, And it's easy to start questioning whether things will ever change. But it's in those very moments of uncertainty that we need to remind ourselves that God is working behind the scenes. Often, we don't see the full picture of what God is doing, but He is always working in ways that we cannot fully comprehend. Just because we can't see the change happening immediately doesn't mean it's not on the way. In fact, sometimes the delay is actually a part of God's plan. Maybe we need to grow in a certain area before we can handle the blessings He's preparing for us. Perhaps there's something we need to learn or a relationship that needs to be healed before we can move forward. God, in His infinite wisdom, knows exactly when the right moment will come for us to step into the next phase of our lives. He sees things from an eternal perspective, and His timing is always for our good. It's easy to feel discouraged or anxious when it feels like the change we're hoping for is taking too long. But in those moments, we have to trust that God knows what He's doing. He isn't just allowing us to wait for no reason. There are divine preparations taking place in the background, and sometimes those preparations take time, whether it's aligning the right people into our lives, opening doors that we can't yet see, or preparing our hearts to handle the blessings that will come. God's timing is always intentional. Sometimes the wait can feel especially long when we are facing a trial or a season of hardship. We may feel like we're stuck in a situation with no way out, and we can't understand why God hasn't intervened yet. But in these moments, God is developing our character, building our faith, and preparing us for what's ahead. It's often in the waiting that we learn to trust Him more deeply, to rely on His strength, and to lean into His grace. Though it may be uncomfortable, this time of preparation is essential for the transformation that will follow. God's timing also means that He will bring things about at just the right moment. Perhaps you've been praying for a new job, a new relationship, or an opportunity to use your gifts in a new way, and it feels like nothing is happening, but one day, out of the blue, an opportunity will present itself, and you'll look back and realize that it was all a part of God's perfect plan. You'll see that the wait, the delays, and the times of uncertainty were all leading you to this moment. What we often fail to see in the moment is that God's timing is not just about us, it's about His greater plan. Sometimes the changes that God is preparing in our lives are not just for us. They are part of something much bigger. Maybe the change you're waiting for is meant to touch the lives of others, or perhaps it's going to bring about something that will have a ripple effect far beyond what you can imagine. And for all of that to come together, it needs to happen at just the right time. Ultimately, the key to understanding God's timing is to trust in His sovereignty and to remember that He is never late. His timing isn't just about waiting for the right circumstances. It's about preparing us for what He's going to do. So when you're in a season of waiting or feeling like change is taking too long, know that God is working. He's preparing you. He's aligning things in your favor, and He is bringing everything together for your good and His glory, all in His perfect time. God often brings breakthroughs in our lives in ways we least expect. These moments of transformation are sometimes preceded by what may appear to be obstacles or setbacks, but it's precisely in those moments that God works in ways we cannot fully comprehend. It's in the unexpected doors that open when we weren't looking, the opportunities that come seemingly out of nowhere, and the relationships that shift when we least anticipate them, that we see God's hand at work in our lives. These breakthroughs may not always look like what we had imagined or hoped for, but they are God's way of leading us into a new season of growth and blessing. For many of us, the anticipation of breakthrough can cause us to expect a grand, dramatic change. We picture a sudden and obvious transformation, with everything falling perfectly into place. However, the truth is, breakthroughs often come in more subtle and unexpected forms. Perhaps it's a new connection with someone who opens the door to a new job opportunity, or maybe a small change in your routine that leads to a bigger breakthrough down the road. These seemingly insignificant moments are actually part of God's plan to prepare you for what's coming. The breakthrough may not always be a giant leap forward. Sometimes it's a series of smaller steps that lead to a much greater shift. These unexpected opportunities are often moments that we can easily overlook if we aren't paying attention. We may become so focused on what we want or how we expect things to happen that we miss the signs of change that are already beginning to unfold. The job you've been praying for might not look like the one you had in mind, but it may offer experiences or connections that open even bigger doors in the future. The relationship you're hoping for might not arrive in the form you anticipated, but it could lead to personal growth or provide a new understanding that prepares you for the right relationship at the right time. These unexpected breakthroughs are often God's way of preparing us for something far better than we imagine. Alongside these unexpected opportunities, breakthroughs can come in the form of healing or restoration. It's possible that you've been holding on to past hurts, disappointments, or fears, and you may not even realize how much they are holding you back. But in God's perfect timing, He can bring healing in ways that we never thought possible. It might happen through a conversation, a change in perspective, or even through a difficult experience that forces us to grow. It's in these moments that we begin to experience God's power to restore and renew, and we realize that our past does not have to define our future. The breakthrough is not only about changing circumstances, it's about transforming us from the inside out. Another powerful aspect of breakthrough is that it often arrives when we least expect it, and sometimes it comes after a season of struggle or difficulty. For many, it's easy to lose hope when things aren't progressing the way we want them to, or when challenges seem insurmountable. However, God has a way of working even in our struggles. When we are at our lowest, when we feel like there's no way out, that's often when the breakthrough is just around the corner. It's in the midst of our darkest hours that God's light shines the brightest. And when the breakthrough finally comes, we can see how all the struggles we faced were leading us to that moment. Sometimes the breakthrough isn't just about receiving something new or different. It can be a realization or a shift in our mindset. Perhaps we've been stuck in old patterns of thinking or limiting beliefs, and the breakthrough comes when we finally understand that we are worthy of more, or when we realize that our current circumstances don't have to define our future. These shifts in our perspective can change everything, and they are often the precursor to the outward changes that follow. Lastly, the breakthroughs that God brings are often a preparation for something even greater. What may seem like a small shift or a small opportunity may actually be the beginning of a much larger plan unfolding. You may look back and realize that the breakthrough was the catalyst for a chain of events that led to your ultimate destiny. Each breakthrough builds upon the previous one, leading you to the place where God wants you to be. The key is to remain open to these unexpected changes and to trust that, even when things don't make sense in the moment, God is always working for your good. When we experience these breakthroughs, it's important to acknowledge and celebrate them, no matter how small they may seem. They are signs that God is moving in our lives, preparing us for something greater. Every step forward, no matter how incremental, is a part of the greater picture that God is painting for our lives. And the more we recognize and embrace these moments of unexpected opportunity, the more we can trust that God's plan is unfolding just as it should. Change can often feel intimidating, especially when it involves stepping into the unknown. Many of us are comfortable with what we know, even if it's not ideal, because there is a sense of security in the familiar. The idea of venturing into new territory, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, or simply a new chapter of life, can feel overwhelming. We wonder if we're truly ready, if we're capable, or if the unknown will be worse than what we're leaving behind. But it's important to realize that the unknown is not a place of fear. It's actually a place of growth and possibility. When God is leading you into something new, He's not leading you into chaos or uncertainty for the sake of discomfort. He's leading you toward transformation and a deeper fulfillment of your purpose. In these moments of stepping into the unknown, it's natural to feel afraid or unsure. It's easy to question whether you're making the right decision or whether the timing is truly right. But faith is not about being free from fear. It's about trusting God in the midst of it. When God opens a new door in your life, He does not promise that it will always be easy or comfortable, but He promises that He will be with you every step of the way, guiding you, providing for you, and giving you the strength to face the challenges that may arise. It's in these moments of stepping into the unknown that we often find ourselves growing in ways we never anticipated. Change forces us to stretch beyond our comfort zones and push past limitations we've placed on ourselves. We begin to discover strengths and abilities we didn't even know we had. When we step out in faith, even with fear or uncertainty, we allow God to work in us and through us in ways that wouldn't have been possible if we stayed in the familiar. In fact, sometimes we have to step out before we can truly see the new possibilities God is preparing for us. It's only when we take that first step into the unknown that we begin to see the full picture of what God has in store. One of the most powerful things about stepping into the unknown is the opportunity it presents for deeper trust. Trusting God to guide you into unfamiliar territory requires letting go of control. It means surrendering your plans and trusting that His will for your life is better than anything you could plan for yourself. This can be a challenging and humbling experience, especially for those who like to have everything mapped out in advance. But it is in this surrender that we often experience the greatest breakthroughs and the deepest growth. When we let go of our need to control every detail, we allow God to move freely in our lives, and that's when the miracles begin to happen. Moreover, stepping into the unknown often requires patience. As we embark on a new journey, it's easy to want everything to fall into place immediately, but change rarely happens overnight. There will be moments of doubt, frustration, and confusion along the way. However, the process of moving forward, even when we don't have all the answers, is part of the journey that strengthens us. The more we trust the process, the more we learn to rely on God's timing and provision. And as we persist, we find that the unknown begins to feel less intimidating. With each step of obedience, we build confidence in God's plan and discover that He is faithful to provide everything we need. Stepping into the unknown is also about embracing the possibility of failure and learning from it. Failure can feel like a setback, but it is often one of the greatest teachers in our lives. When we step into new situations, we may encounter challenges that don't go as planned. But these moments are not signs that we've made a mistake. They are opportunities for growth and learning. Through failure, we learn resilience, humility, and perseverance. It's important to remember that failure is not the end of the journey, but a necessary part of the process. God uses our setbacks to prepare us for even greater successes, teaching us the lessons we need to move forward. As you step into the unknown, it's also crucial to remind yourself that you're not alone. God has promised to never leave you nor forsake you, even when things seem unclear or difficult. He is walking with you, providing guidance and peace every step of the way. The unknown may seem daunting, but it is also filled with limitless possibilities. You may not know exactly how things will unfold, but you can trust that God's plan for your life is good. He knows the path that leads to your destiny, and He will guide you through every uncertainty. Ultimately, stepping into the unknown is an act of faith and obedience. It requires trusting that God knows what's best for you, even when you can't see the full picture. By stepping out, you open yourself up to a life that is greater than what you could ever imagine on your own. The unknown is not a place to fear. It's a place of potential, growth, and transformation. And when God is leading you, it's always a step towards something better. The changes God brings into our lives are not just for our own benefit. They extend beyond us and impact those around us. When we go through a transformation, whether it's in our personal character, our circumstances, or our relationships, that transformation often spills over into the lives of others. This is one of the most beautiful aspects of God's work in our lives. It's not just about what we gain, but also about how our growth and breakthroughs can be a blessing to the people we interact with and the communities we belong to. God doesn't just change us for our own good. He changes us so that we can be vessels of His grace, love, and power to others. When we undergo a shift or a breakthrough, people begin to notice the change in us. It could be a shift in how we handle difficult situations, how we treat others, or how we approach life with more faith and hope. This change in us can inspire others to reflect on their own lives and be encouraged. The way we handle challenges, the joy we find in the midst of adversity, and the peace we exude during times of uncertainty can serve as a witness to God's goodness and faithfulness. As we grow and experience God's transformation, we become living testimonies of His power to change lives, and our very existence can point others toward Him. Furthermore, the blessings that God pours into our lives as we change are meant to overflow when we receive new opportunities, new relationships, or personal breakthroughs. It's not just for our own advancement or success. These blessings are meant to be shared. Whether it's a new job that provides for you and your family or a new understanding of grace that allows you to extend forgiveness to others, the blessings God gives us have a ripple effect. Our personal breakthroughs can open doors for others. The relationships we build, the wisdom we gain, and the resources we acquire are all part of a larger plan that impacts the lives of those around us. God blesses us not just for our own enjoyment, but so that we can be a blessing to others in tangible ways. This impact extends beyond just the immediate circle of our friends and family. As we change and grow, we become a part of a broader network of people who are touched by our story and our example. Our journey may inspire someone else who is facing a similar challenge. It might encourage them to keep going, to trust God more deeply, or to take a step of faith they hadn't considered before. In this way, our transformation becomes a catalyst for the transformation of others. Our willingness to step into change and embrace God's work in our lives can spark change in the lives of those around us, creating a domino effect of positive influence and growth. In addition, the change we experience in our own lives can lead to new relationships and connections that further expand our circle of influence. When God is working in us, He often brings people into our lives who will help us along the way, or who we can help in return. These connections are divinely orchestrated. As we grow and change, we might find ourselves reaching out to new people or being drawn into new communities that are aligned with our new purpose. These relationships are not just accidental. They are part of God's plan to create a network of support, encouragement, and mutual growth. It's also important to recognize that as we go through the process of change, we become more equipped to help others who are in need. Sometimes, the difficulties we face in our own lives prepare us to walk alongside others who are facing similar struggles. Our experiences become a source of empathy and understanding. When we've walked through a challenge and come out on the other side, we can offer hope, guidance, and support to those who are still in the midst of their own struggles. This is how God's work in our lives continues to multiply and expand. It's through the ways we can comfort, encourage, and support others based on the growth we've experienced ourselves. The transformation that God brings into our lives doesn't stop at the personal level. It's part of His larger plan to impact the world. As we experience growth and change, we are being prepared for the unique role we're called to play in the lives of others and in the world at large. Our individual stories of transformation are interconnected with the stories of others. When we step into our purpose and embrace the change God has for us, we contribute to the unfolding of His greater plan for the world. Our lives become a testament to the power of His love, grace, and redemption. When we allow God to transform us, we also allow ourselves to become instruments of transformation for those around us. The change that happens in our hearts doesn't just remain there, it overflows into the lives of our families, friends, co-workers, and even strangers. This ripple effect of transformation is what makes God's work in our lives so powerful. Through His work, we become the hands and feet of Christ, reaching out to others with the love and grace we've received. As we change, we create an environment where others can also experience the love of God and the potential for their own transformation. When God brings change into our lives, it's always a part of a greater plan, one that extends beyond our expectations and often exceeds what we can imagine. The changes He orchestrates are not just meant to shift our current circumstances, but to open the door to an abundance of blessings that we may not even be prepared for. God's changes in our lives are always for our good, and He desires to bless us in ways that bring us fulfillment, joy, and peace. It's easy to think of blessings in terms of material gain or success, but God's blessings go much deeper than that. They touch every aspect of our lives, including our relationships, our emotional well-being, and our sense of purpose. One of the most beautiful aspects of God's blessings is that they are tailored to us. They're not random or generic, but specifically designed to meet the needs and desires He has placed in our hearts. While the world may define blessings in terms of wealth or status, God's blessings often show up in more profound ways, such as restored relationships, inner peace, or newfound strength. These blessings go beyond the surface. They nourish our souls and deepen our connection with Him. When God is about to bring change into our lives, He is preparing us to receive blessings that will lead us closer to His purpose for us, drawing us into a deeper relationship with Him and allowing us to experience a sense of fulfillment that the world cannot provide. Sometimes the blessings God has for us come in ways that we might not recognize at first. We may be expecting something grand or obvious, but God often works in subtle ways. A job opportunity may seem like a small step, but it could be part of a larger plan to open doors to new relationships or to grow in areas we never thought possible. A change in our health or emotional well-being might feel like a minor shift, but it could be the beginning of healing that will allow us to live more fully and with greater purpose. The blessings God has in store for us are often woven into the fabric of our lives in ways that we might not fully appreciate until we look back and see how each change led us to the place we are today. The abundance that God promises is not just material wealth, but it encompasses every area of our lives. His blessings are holistic. They touch our hearts, our minds, and our bodies. When we experience God's blessings, they fill us up in a way that nothing else can. They don't just satisfy our temporary needs, but they meet our deeper eternal needs, providing a peace and joy that transcends circumstance. These blessings make us more resilient in the face of challenges, more hopeful for the future, and more aware of God's constant presence in our lives. When we open ourselves to the changes God brings, we also open ourselves to receiving these abundant blessings that fulfill us in ways that we could never achieve on our own. God's blessings are also meant to transform us so that we can be a blessing to others. As He pours His goodness into our lives, He expects us to share that goodness with those around us. The change He brings is never just for our benefit. It's meant to impact the lives of others. Whether through the way we serve others, the generosity we show, or the love we extend, God's blessings overflow into the lives of those around us. Our transformation, our growth, and our breakthroughs create a ripple effect that extends far beyond us. We are called to be conduits of His grace and blessings, sharing the abundance we've received with others in ways that demonstrate God's love and care. The more we embrace the blessings God has for us, the more we realize that He is leading us towards something greater than we could have planned on our own. Sometimes we settle for less because we can't imagine the full extent of what God has in store for us. We may think that what we have is all we need, but God's vision for us is always grander. The change He is bringing into our lives is often a catalyst for something even greater, a new chapter of purpose, a deeper understanding of our calling, or the opportunity to impact others in ways we never imagined. His blessings are not just meant to sustain us, but to propel us forward into the fullness of the life He has designed for us. As we experience these blessings, it's important to remember that they are not just rewards for our obedience or efforts. They are expressions of God's love and grace toward us, given freely because of His goodness. We don't earn His blessings. They are gifts that flow from His heart. And as we receive these blessings, we are reminded that they are not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to know God more deeply, to experience His love more fully, and to walk in His purposes for our lives. The blessings are a reflection of His love for us, drawing us closer to Him and allowing us to fulfill the destiny He has placed before us. Ultimately, the changes that God is bringing into our lives are not just for a temporary season of joy or success. They are part of His larger plan to prepare us for the life He has destined for us, one filled with abundant blessings that bring us into a deeper relationship with Him and allow us to be a blessing to others. When God brings change into our lives, it is always a precursor to something greater, something more fulfilling, and something that far exceeds our own understanding. As we embrace His plan, we can trust that the blessings He has for us will be more than enough to sustain us and equip us for all that He has called us to do. In conclusion, when God is about to change your life, it is an invitation to trust in His perfect timing, His divine plan, and His ability to do far more than we can ask or imagine. The changes He brings are not merely for our personal benefit, but a part of a greater purpose. transforming us so we can be a blessing to others and to the world around us. Whether the shift comes suddenly or gradually, through unexpected opportunities or stepping into the unknown, we can trust that God is always working in ways that are for our good and His glory. As we embrace these changes, we learn to let go of our fear, surrender our control, and open ourselves up to the blessings that God has already prepared for us. These blessings often go beyond material gain, touching our hearts, relationships, and sense of purpose, ultimately leading us toward a life that is richer, more fulfilling, and aligned with His divine purpose. And in the process, we become more equipped to share that blessing with others, becoming conduits of God's love and grace. When you see this, when you recognize the change that God is orchestrating, know that it is not just a fleeting moment, but a pivotal step towards something greater. Embrace it with faith, knowing that God's plan for your life is unfolding perfectly, and that the changes He brings will lead to a life filled with His abundance and purpose. When God is about to change your life, it's important to recognize that His transformations are always intentional and full of purpose. The changes He brings are not random or accidental, but part of a divine plan that is designed to help you grow, mature, and step into a greater destiny. While change can feel uncomfortable or even challenging, it is through those moments of uncertainty that God works in powerful ways, refining us and preparing us for the blessings and opportunities ahead. These changes are often preceded by times of struggle, doubt, or waiting, but it is in these very moments that God's hand is most active, shaping us into the individuals we are meant to be. As we face change, it's important to remember that God is not just changing our circumstances, He is changing us from the inside out. He is refining our character, deepening our faith, and broadening our capacity to love and serve others. The process may be gradual or it may come suddenly, but in both cases we can trust that it is leading us towards something better than we could ever imagine on our own. Each step of the journey is a part of God's perfect plan, and each breakthrough, no matter how small it may seem, is a sign that we are moving closer to the life He has prepared for us. When we step into the unknown and trust God's guidance, we open ourselves to receiving the blessings that He has in store. These blessings are often more than just material gains. They touch every area of our lives, our relationships, our purpose, our sense of fulfillment. As we embrace change with faith, we begin to see how God's blessings overflow, not only enriching our own lives, but allowing us to be a blessing to others. In this way, the changes we experience become a ripple effect, extending God's love and grace to those around us. Ultimately, the changes God brings into our lives are meant to lead us into deeper intimacy with Him, a clearer understanding of our purpose, and a greater capacity to serve others. When we see that God is about to change our lives, it is a reminder that He is always at work, orchestrating everything for our good and His glory. It is in the midst of these transformations that we discover who we truly are and who God has called us to be. So, as we walk through these changes with faith, we can rest assured that God is always leading us toward a life filled with His abundance, purpose, and love. As you step into this season, remember that the best is yet to come. When you see this, get ready. God is about to change your life. Thank you.